Namaste and a warm welcome to all of you joining on the segment Rendezvous with Reach. Today we are privileged and honored to have Dr. Bharat Pankhania. He is a senior clinical lecturer at University of Exeter Medical School and has over 20 years of experience in communicable disease control and infectious disease management. Warm welcome to you, Dr. Bharat. On
Namaste.
March 11th, 2020, the World Health Organization upgraded COVID-19 from a public health emergency of international concern to a pandemic. India also went into a nationwide lockdown on March 25th, 2020, which lasted 68 days. It flattened the curve. However, the second wave, which has knocked India, is really severe. Where did it go so horribly wrong? How bad can the surge get, Dr. Bharat?
I'm so hurt, and I feel this is a tragedy that I share with all my fellow brothers and sisters in India. It really is a tragedy, and where it went wrong is we fail to stick to the science. So unfortunately, we did really well by putting in immediate, hard, fast, extensive restrictions, control measures. And then when we lifted those restrictions and control measures, we lifted them without caution and care, and that incremental release the restrictions, watch, release the restrictions, watch again, and so on. So you have had festivals allowed, weddings allowed, cricket in Gujarat state, my home state, allowed, election gatherings allowed for the elections that are happening in the west of India, east of India, I mean to say. And as a result of these excessive, extensive human interactions, without control, we now have a surge in number of cases. It's very unfortunate.
So how bad can the surge get now? What are your...
So the trajectory is going to continue upwards until and unless the government decides that we've got to have a extensive shutdown and a restriction of human-to-human interactions. Unfortunately, you have a large seeding of the virus amongst the Indian community extensively, and you have a number of issues as well, which is you have infectious people that you know of, and you have infectious people that you do not know about, and you have another category, infectious people who do not want to talk about it. And these are a large number of very poor people who have to put bread on the table, and therefore they cannot even talk about, I have the infection. They have to continue working and hope for the best. And therefore, your control measures in India are difficult because there are poor people, there's lots of crowded places, there's crowded cities, and there is that culture of we've conquered it first, so we don't need to do it again. Unfortunately, we need to go back and put in the restrictions.
Completely agree. And it's not just the election rallies. We also have the Delhi blockade that has been happening for a long time because of the protests happening there. Now, there is this sort of a confusion on how do you differentiate between the COVID virus and a normal flu or virus. Can you just go through the symptoms again, doctor, just for that everybody understands the difference?
So with respect to seasonal influenza, COVID-19 is many fathoms more serious and more dangerous, many factors, at least 30 times more serious than seasonal influenza. So your chances of dying in all age groups, if you have illness, if in other words, you're ill with seasonal influenza, is 0.1%. Your chances of dying if you have SARS-CoV-2 infection across all the age groups is about 3%. So you will see it is 30%, 30 times, not percent, 30 times more disease causing, severe disease causing, and can lead to fatality. Now, the signs and symptoms of a SARS-CoV-2 infection are, the common ones that we know of are sudden loss of smell and taste, a temperature, it may be over 38 degrees. You may have a extreme tiredness, aching of muscles. And then one particular one, and which is unusual, is a dry cough. So a dry cough, temperature, aching muscles, tiredness. And then later on, you get other signs and symptoms which come much later in the infection, are shortness of breath, inability to, for example, climb the stairs, and then other organs also start to play up. So you may start to get blood clots, you may start to get irregular heartbeats, and so on.
Okay. So, Doctor, tell me one thing. India has been supplying vaccine to nearly 80 plus countries as part of its vaccine My3, and this was primarily with the AstraZeneca. Then you suddenly had this blood clot issue, which gets a lot of attention. Is this really the case, or do you think it's the pharma lobby and companies like Pfizer which are trying to control the vaccine propaganda? It is actually vaccine imperialism, looks like more now than human, serving humanity. What are your thoughts here on this, Doctor?
I think what we have not done very well is communicate the issues. So the issues which we have unearthed, and you can only unearth these issues after you have given several million doses. So in a clinical trial, you don't have several million people in the trial, so you never find out. So having given about 7 million doses of a vaccine, AstraZeneca, Oxford, or Johnson & Johnson, for example, you find 6 rare, unusual, unexpected cases of sudden occurrence of a specific type of blood clots. So this specific type of blood clots is blood clots together with what we call thrombocytopenia. What thrombocytopenia means, your platelets have decreased in numbers. So a huge decrease in platelets on the one hand, and on the other hand, odd clots in unusual places, like you have the cerebral sinus venous thrombosis, which is a very rare condition. And then, of course, there are some clots which go and plug into your brain circulatory system, or your heart circulatory system, or your gastrointestinal tract system. So, but I need to emphasize that these are very rare, very unusual, idiosyncratic, and seem to occur in the younger age group. And as I say, the chances are more than 1 in a million. Furthermore, of course, you can have blood clots if you are, for example, a smoker, you are on the oral contraceptive pill, you undertake long-haul flights, and one important bit, COVID-19 disease per se also leads to blood clots. So in terms of context, and this is where we have not communicated things properly, context is as follows. Blood clots do occur. Blood clots related to the vaccine, Oxford, AstraZeneca, or Johnson & Johnson, are very rare, very unusual, and on balance, it is better to be protected rather than to say, I don't want the blood clot, therefore I won't take the vaccine. I don't think that there is a rivalry between the platform of Pfizer and the different platform of AstraZeneca, Oxford. I don't think so, but you can see how it is easy for people to say this must be one pharmaceutical company trying to undermine another one. I don't think so, and I hope that isn't the case.
Thank you. Well, they have increased the price considerably. Now, there has been a good, sort of positive news coming in terms of the ICMR study, which shows that Covaxin does neutralize against multiple variants of SARS-CoV-2 and effectively neutralizes the double mutant strain as well. Now, is this something that you've seen in coming up in the next few weeks that we have seen Mexico, which has started using this as a EUA? Do you now see other countries also going more towards Covaxin? What do you see that, from that perspective?
Without a doubt, in my mind, the vaccine is safe and it is easier to administer, it is cheaper to administer, and it is going to be a lifesaver for the world. So I have a lot of faith, trust, and expectation in the AstraZeneca Oxford model of vaccines, because they are that much easier, that much faster, that much more stable to administer. And whilst there is this unfortunate link, it is a very, very rare event. And what would I do as a doctor? I would say, take the first available vaccine that you get, that you're lucky to get. And I have no worries about the AstraZeneca Oxford vaccine in the vast majority of people. I myself have been immunized against the SARS-CoV-2 virus using the AstraZeneca Oxford vaccine. I had my vaccine yesterday and I willingly took it.
Thank you. So should we worry too much about the mutations? You had Kent, then you have India, then you have California. How worrying are these mutations that we keep talking about and these?
Well, with respect to the mutations, it is an indicator that you have runaway, uncontrolled, excessive infections in the country, in the place, wherever. So wherever you have a lot of people with a lot of cases, the viruses are multiplying. And as the viruses multiply, they make mistakes. And if those mistakes favor the virus in some way or the other, you get the emergence of variants. So the emergence of variants is telling you that you have got excessive replication, multiplication of these viruses because your infections are not being controlled. So of course we should be concerned because a variant could be in the negative direction, meaning avoids antibodies that we've already created as a result of immunization, or that it causes more severe disease, or that it infects a younger age group and gives to them a more severe disease. Ideally, we want to avoid variants. How do you do it? Suppress the infection. How do you suppress infection? It is a multifaceted approach. One of them is infection control. Second one is the 3 C's. Avoid getting close to people, avoid crowds, avoid closed indoor places, have good ventilation. And finally, one more thing I must add is wear your mask properly. And then one more thing that we have are vaccines. And I would encourage the government of India and fellow brothers and sisters in India that the vaccine will save your life. As soon as a vaccine is available to you, please take it. And I want the government of India to promote the vaccine. It is very good, very nice, and very decent of India to donate the vaccines to other countries, but we should also have vaccines all over the world being given. And one more thing which is very important is these pharmaceutical companies which have got patents on these vaccines, such as Pfizer, Moderna, AstraZeneca, Oxford, they need to relinquish their patents. We will be rewarded sufficiently. They already have been rewarded with public money to invent their vaccines. And therefore, we need to set up regional plants to manufacture more vaccines in the middle of a global emergency. This is a global emergency. So we need them to relinquish their patents, allow the manufacture of these vaccines in Africa, in Asia, in South America, and in big regional places so that we have capacity, and then we can immunize as many as possible, as fast as possible, and bring this under control. That is the decent thing to do.
Completely agree, with you on that. I think humanity should come first.
Indeed.
Now, there has been a development with terms of Russia. We see that COVID-19 vaccination tourism is something that Russia is looking at with Sputnik V. Is this a hint at a weak EU when it comes to the vaccine failure and how the vaccine rollout was affected and how Russia is possibly trying to capitalize on that?
I don't know about the Russian vaccine tourism, but I infer from your questions that they're saying, come to Russia, get vaccinated. I don't think that is the way forward, because that automatically selects the rich people who can go and get vaccinated. That is not the way to control it. The way to control it is to take the vaccines to the towns, the cities, the villages, to the shanty towns, the poor people, and immunize as quickly as possible, as fast as possible, as many as possible. And having a vaccine tourism is a rubbish way to try and control a pandemic. That is only selecting the rich people who can afford to come and get vaccinated. With respect to the EU, there have been some mistakes. And the mistakes were that they were thinking globally, they were thinking pan-European, and they didn't expect the pharmaceutical companies to say, we are not going to supply you, because it never said we had to supply you this many in this given time in this order. So it was an error of trusting the pharmaceutical companies too much with regards to how the contracts were drawn up. The United Kingdom drew up the contract by saying, you have a successful vaccine, you give it to us first. The European Union said, you have a successful vaccine, you share it with everyone. Subtle difference. Yep. So with that subtle difference, you have suddenly the pharmaceutical company saying, we are sharing it. We are not obliged to give it to you first. Very subtle difference.
Yes, completely there. Tell me one thing, doctor, that, India has been added to the red list by the UK. But are you amazed that the US government has added Britain to its do not travel list, citing a very high level of COVID-19, potentially dashing hopes of a transatlantic summer travel that people were planning? Do they see like a third wave here in the UK, or is that just the typical US attitude?
No, if I was president of any country, I would be advising my fellow citizens, 2021, stay at home. There is no dashing of hopes and things. We have to play the long game. So, for example, if I, living in the United Kingdom, I really want to come to India, of course I want to. But my common sense tells me I shouldn't come, because you've got enough problems of your own. I don't need to come and add to your problems. So similarly, we need to have that attitude of don't go into territories where you don't know how their health system is faring, how they are managing, etc. So we need to sort of keep calm, postpone our travel plans for when things are better internationally.
When do you think that normal is likely to happen? How much in the near future are we going to wait and just wait and hope that, possibly it's been a long time already where we've been kept away from our family and friends. When do you see the new normal actually happening?
When the citizens of the world can put their politicians into a room and tell them, you are not coming out of this room until you agree to do things the right way. And what I am trying to say is, lock them up in a room, all the leaders, United States, United Kingdom, European Union. They are the ones who hold on to the companies which have the patents. And you say, release those patents, enable the manufacture of the vaccines, because the pharmaceutical companies say that they're going to make the vaccines, but they fail to do so. And until you get that breaking of the patents and the setting up of the excess manufacturing capacity globally, we will not bring this under control. And one more thing we need to do is again lock the decision makers in a room and tell them, you need to do the right thing driven by science. And until you are driven by science, it's not going to work. And the driven by science is the way to control it is infection control, people education, and vaccines.
So, do you think because India is now in the second wave and having had gone through the first wave, the medical professionals are in a better prepared position to have lesser fatalities now?
Maybe so. That is the case certainly in the United Kingdom. So we are better practiced at managing COVID-19 disease, and our outcomes are better. Having said that, if you still have a lot of cases, then having a lot of cases equals lots more severe disease and lots more deaths. So in India, you have an uncontrolled outbreak. So no matter how good your doctors and hospitals are, you have too many people who you cannot treat. Therefore, you will have more fatalities. You have run out of oxygen in places. You have run out of basic, simple care, because apart from giving dexamethasone and oxygen, we haven't got many things that we can do anyway. But if you can't even give oxygen and dexamethasone to the poor people in India, they will die. Simple.
So, what do you think are the three most important things the Indian government really needs to do now to ensure?
Back to square one, please. This is an emergency. You need to be sitting in cabinet today, now, and you say, this is an infection out of control. Stop all the elections, stop all the gatherings, stop all the festivities, stop everything. You need to go into immediate lockdown. And even when you go into immediate lockdown, you will not control it for a little while because it takes time for the case numbers to slowly dip. But you've got to do that. Close your borders, close everything. Second thing, give the vaccine manufacturers, because they were asking for extra funding to make extra vaccines. So give to your vaccine manufacturers the money to make more vaccines for use in India. And furthermore, be brave. Be the bravest nation on earth, break those vaccine patents, order the Serum Institute to break those patents and start making the vaccines regionally in India, elsewhere. Because India in the past has broken patents on proprietary vaccines, and the pharmaceutical companies have had to shrug their shoulders and live with it. So there would be some superb bravery on the part of Prime Minister Modi to say, we're going to do it.
True.
There we are. I told you.
Yeah, and I think from the 1st of May, they have said that people above the age of 18 will be getting vaccines as well. And I think we're seeing that in Israel as well, which is opening up because of the vaccine. I know a lot of people getting vaccines. So what is your message to the people in India who are really, really stressed? And there is this rush to get to the hospital, wherein 85% cases, maybe we don't need that. So what do you have to say to the people of India who are facing this?
Okay, so Indians are stoical people, and now is the time to be stoical, measured, and panic itself creates panic. So you can stay at home, you can take your oxygen readings, and if your oxygen readings are dropping below 95%, so normally your oxygen readings with a pulse oximeter are about 99, 98%. So if they are dropping below 95 and you're getting short of breath and you're having difficulty breathing, in that case, and only in that case, find out where the hospital can take you and then go to it. There is no point in hoarding remdesivir. It doesn't work like that. No need to hoard it. And there is no need to also panic with other drugs. Hydroxychloroquine and other things do not work, so don't waste your money on it. And remain calm. That is important. But as soon as I had said it, I also felt really bad because only rich Indians can afford a pulse oximeter. What about the poor people in the villages who've even probably not heard about a pulse oximeter? What about them? I don't know what we can do. But if people can bulk purchase pulse oximeters and give it to poor people and tell them, sit at home and monitor this, that would be a good thing. One more thing, the best thing you can ever do is not to get infected. So I say to people here in the UK, just because the government gives you permission to go to the pub, go to the restaurant, go to activities, doesn't mean you should. So the best advice I can give to fellow brothers and sisters in India is stay at home, don't interact with anyone. Just go into parda, stay at home, don't mix with other people. It will save your life.
Thank you so much, Dr. Bharat. And I think there are so many organizations. We saw how a slum like Dharavi was able to get out of the COVID in the first way. And, you know, we have seen the phase 3 clinical trials of the indigenously developed COVID-19 vaccine, Covaxin by Bharat Biotech International. And the ICMR have demonstrated 100% efficacy against severe COVID-19 disease. They said that in the joint statement. So that is, silver lining. Stay strong, India. Together we can beat Corona. Let's, follow the basic guidelines that the government is issuing. And this is the time to, listen to this advice, stay strong and stay focused and seek medical advice over the phone. Do not go to the hospital unless it is really needed. Thank you so much, Dr. Bharat, for joining us and giving us such a nice insight into this. And I do hope that people will, really take this seriously, and we will in the next few weeks be able to come out of this safely. Thank you so much.
Thank you. My pleasure. And if people wish to follow me, because I'm always giving advice, my Twitter handle is at Dr. Saib.